Tensions are rising between the United States and Canada, yes, even our famously polite northern neighbors. British Columbia is considering charging U.S. trucks heading to Alaska, a direct response to new U.S. tariff threats. And who's behind those tariffs? Donald Trump, of course. His talk of high taxes on Canadian goods has sparked real concern in Ottawa and across the provinces. Canadian leaders fear these tariffs could damage their economy and cost jobs, so they're preparing to push back, hard. This isn't just about British Columbia, all of Canada is watching and ready to act. Many Canadians see the US as playing unfair, like a big brother taking your lunch money. Canada's message, we can play that game too. It's a classic trade standoff but with real consequences for both sides. Canada feels cornered and is determined not to back down. They're showing they have tools to respond, tools that could disrupt US interests, especially those relying on Canadian routes to Alaska. The drama is just beginning. The US tariff threats are being taken seriously. Canada is making it clear they won't take this lying down. They're ready to make things difficult for US businesses if needed, especially for those depending on the Alaska route. This could escalate quickly. The stage is set for a bumpy ride. Stay tuned. This trade dispute is just heating up. So, what's British Columbia planning? Premier David Eby just announced the Economic Stabilization, Tariff Response Act. This law gives BC the power to impose tolls or fees on US trucks, and maybe even ferries, heading to Alaska. It's a clear warning to Washington. Think twice about those tariffs. The tolls aren't automatic. The law simply gives BC the authority to act if the US moves forward with tariffs. Think of it as a big red button, one they hope not to press, but everyone knows it's there. It's a strategic deterrent in this high-stakes trade game. The law is temporary, set to expire in May 2027. Its main goal? Protect BC's economy and workers from US trade actions. It's about provincial self-defense, not aggression. BC wants to make sure it's not left vulnerable. This is a direct message. BC won't be a sitting duck. The legislation is a short-term shield for a current threat. It's a move to show strength and readiness. The hope is that the threat alone will be enough. But if tariffs hit, BC is ready to respond. The province is drawing a clear line in the sand. It's a calculated move in a tense standoff. The message to the US is simple. Don't underestimate Canadian resolve. The ball is now in Washington's court. British Columbia isn't alone. Canada's response is nationwide. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has announced its own retaliatory tariffs. Provinces are lining up to show solidarity. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford introduced a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the US, a direct financial jab. Yukon's Premier Ranj Pillai is also taking action. Government liquor stores will stop buying from American companies, and US businesses may lose out on Yukon contracts. These are targeted economic counterpunches, not just symbolic gestures. The message: Canada's provinces are united. It's an all-for-one, one-for-all approach. Premier Pillai insists these moves aren't anti-Alaskan, they're about defending Canadian sovereignty. The principle at stake: fair trade, not being bullied by a bigger neighbor. Some Yukoners are even calling for more drastic measures like tolls or bans. The mood is clear: Canada won't back down. This is about protecting jobs and economic stability. The provinces are sending a strong message to Washington. Canada is presenting a united front. The stakes are high and the country is ready to act. These aren't empty threats, they're real policies with real impact. The US should take notice. Canada's response is coordinated and determined. The trade fight is now a national issue. What does this mean for Alaska? A lot, actually. The Alaska Highway, running through BC and Yukon, is a lifeline for goods heading north. If BC imposes tolls, transportation costs will spike, trucking companies will pay more, and Alaskan consumers will feel it in higher prices for groceries, fuel, and building supplies. Everyday life in Alaska could get more expensive, fast. Fresh food, fuel, and vital supplies all depend on this route. These aren't luxuries, they're essentials. Supply chain disruptions are a real risk. Delays or shortages could hit hard, especially for time-sensitive goods. Businesses may rethink routes, causing further uncertainty. The impact goes beyond just dollars. It's about reliability and access. Alaskans could face real hardship if this escalates. The pressure is on to find a solution before things get worse. The stakes for Alaska are immediate and personal. Alaskan leaders are worried and vocal. Governor Mike Dunleavy is urging both countries to talk and avoid a trade war. He wants calm, not escalation. State Senator Robert Myers, a trucker himself, warns of major impacts on fresh produce and oil deliveries. The Alaska Trucking Association says tolls will raise costs and disrupt supply chains, hitting consumers hardest. The trucking industry and everyday Alaskans are bracing for higher prices. But not everyone is calling for calm. Senator Dan Sullivan is threatening economic retaliation against BC. He's targeting cruise ships, suggesting a waiver to a U.S. law that currently benefits BCE's cruise industry. This is a clear threat, escalate, and the U.S. will hit back. The tone is shifting from concern to confrontation. Alaska is ready to defend its interests too. The risk of tit-for-tat escalation is real. The pressure for a diplomatic solution is mounting. Right now, BC's legislation targets trucks, but the fight could easily expand. Cruise ships are a huge economic factor for both Alaska, and BC U.S. law requires Alaska-bound cruise ships to stop in BC ports like Vancouver or Victoria. If Canada retaliates by targeting cruise ships, the economic fallout could dwarf truck tolls. Both sides know how many jobs are at stake. Some Yukoners are calling for even more dramatic measures, from highway tolls to symbolic bans. The frustration is real, and ideas for retaliation are flying. The bigger picture: if this trade fight escalates, both countries' economies could suffer. Prices could rise everywhere, not just in Alaska. Businesses may hesitate to invest, and jobs could be lost on both sides. This is a dangerous game with no real winners. The stakes are rising fast. The need for cooler heads is urgent. The main players, Trump, Trudeau, Eby, Dunleavy, Sullivan, Ford, and Pillai, are all making moves. But it's ordinary people who will feel the pain if this escalates. Higher prices, job losses, and uncertainty are on the line. This isn't just political chess, it's real life for families and businesses. The solution? Dialogue and negotiation, not threats and retaliation. Leaders need to sit down and find common ground. Unilateral actions rarely solve complex trade disputes. Diplomacy is needed now more than ever. The US and Canada share deep economic ties and the world's longest undefended border. What hurts one, hurts the other. This toll threat is a wake-up call for better communication. Cooperation, not conflict, should be the goal. Let's hope leaders choose the path of partnership.